Latest football news, engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio. Hello, and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio's Fridays at 5 p.m. for another week of football action with me, as always, George. How are you doing? I hope you had a good week. Hope you're making the most of this sun before it disappears. The sun's out. It feels like summer, but it's not. It's September. We're nearly in October. That's how concerning it is. Well, before we move on in today's show, I better mention our co-host and regular Ipswich Town fan. Some of you I haven't seen for weeks because of internet connections and busy schedules mucking up everything. Dan, I've already introduced you, but Dan, how are you doing, mate?
I'm not bad at all. I think Ipswich won at the weekend, so I'm pretty happy at the moment. So I can't wait to talk about it in the show.
You spoiled the show already.
Sorry, but we all know, don't we?
Oh yeah, we all do know because we're absolutely smiling. You can hear in our voices there's joy for once at Ipswich Town, which is good to see. But before we move on, talk about what we're going to be doing in today's show, I better mention the social media. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram's at Talk_Pitch. YouTube and Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our previous shows, do not worry. They're all up there on our YouTube and Mixcloud. So what we've got coming in today's show, we're going to be talking about Ipswich Town. They play an away game against Lincoln. If you didn't hear what Dan said, spoiler alert, they won the game. Oh my God. 3 points. And then we'll be moving on to the Premier League, looking at game week 5, where we've had, two quite interesting games, but a quite boring game week after that. And then we've got the Carabao Cup. It was back for the 3rd round. We're going to be doing a quick roundup of that as we had some shocking results, and we'll be looking at the 4th round fixtures as well for the Carabao Cup this season. So when we come back, we'll be talking about Ipswich Town and what happened when they went away to play Lincoln. Stay tuned. Stay up to date with the latest footy news.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. It's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George and Dan, as always. Now, before we move on talking about Ipswich Town this week, I better mention the social media. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube and Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our previous shows, do not worry. They're all up there on the YouTube and Mixcloud, ready for you to listen back to them whenever you want to. And Ipswich Town this week, we're finally getting there after a very tough week last week, which saw 2 very disappointing results. Ipswich Town defeats to Bolton Wanderers 5-2 at Portman Road. Yikes, not very good. And then West Ham under 23s as well, losing 2-1 on the night, seeing Ipswich Town in the relegation zone, needing a win as they headed up to a Lincoln who have had a very mixed start to the season, but they did win 5-1 last time out against Cambridge. And also a former Town player was looking to show Paul Cook, why did you get rid of me, and make him regret his decision over the summer. But an on-fire McKady Bond was on target, securing the Blues' first win of the season in a very nervy game, which saw Paul Cook's men holding on for large periods of the game. But Dan, finally, Town, they've done it. They got over that hurdle. The first win is now in the bag. It didn't come easily, but 3 points at the end of the day. What a relief.
Yeah, it's a huge relief, and I don't think we really care about the performance as much. We just needed that first win, didn't we? I think we were all so desperate for it after such a tough start to the season. And I think a start to the season we weren't really expecting. I don't think we were expecting an amazing start like we have done in the past few seasons. As we know, it's a new squad, but we were hoping at least a few wins. But finally, it's come. The game we had to fight for it. Took the lead relatively well, I'd say. A really good goal, a great header from Macaulay Bonne. And we pretty much had to hold on from there, really. I think we were probably better first half. I feel like we controlled the game a bit more in the first half and then had to hold on in the second. But I think it doesn't really matter how it came. I think the win was just needed, and hopefully this will give our players a bit of confidence now. Because I think a win is the most important thing to get a run going, isn't it? If you're in such a bad run of form, it doesn't really matter how it comes. So, yeah, I think hats off to our defence. You know, it's been looking a bit weak the last few games, pretty much all the games to start this season. So to keep a clean sheet, really good stuff from our defence to hold on to that. And yeah, I'm delighted for our first win of the season, and hopefully that's the sign of things to come.
Hopefully it is. It doesn't matter if it's a messy win or an absolute dominant win. A win is a win at the end of the day, and it hopefully might kick something off. But when that full-time whistle went, you could hear an outcry of pure emotion and roar that came from the travelling 1,710 Ipswich Town fans. They sold out the whole way at section, which is absolutely crazy. But after that nerve-wracking second half in those 7 intense minutes, you could just see the weight just lift off the players' shoulders, and also Mark Ashton as well, who after the game went down to the Ipswich Town end to celebrate with the fans. You can see the pure emotion from him as well. I think for everybody at the club, it's a big moment really here for everyone, because there's been a lot of work put in. It's been a lot of setbacks, but after the 9th try, success has finally come.
Yeah, it's taken a while. You know, we were told there was going to be high and low moments. I don't think we expected a really low moment straight away, but that's how it's happened. So hopefully we can move on from that. I think it's just important for everyone at the club, because I think everyone was so desperate for it. Fans, players, owners, manager, we were all wanting that first win. So to finally get it is hopefully going to kickstart our season. And as I said before, in this league, you don't have to make it difficult for yourself. You just need to do the simple things right. And I think that's what we got sorted in this game. I think Paul Cook really focused on that in the training ground, because I think there's been so many defensive mistakes leading up to this game, and we didn't really see any, did we, in this Lincoln game? So hopefully that's something that we've kind of stamped out of our game, which I think was really important and we needed to do to move on with this season. So let's see how it goes. I think we've got a tough run of games coming up, so it's going to be a test for our players. But you know, a win's always a really good start to hopefully go on a run.
As you said there about the simple things, we'll just move on. Is that something that you think now Town have got sorted out? Do you think that now the results will start to sort of roll in on their favour? Because we have sort of seen there has been a lot of problems at the back. It looks like they've got that sorted. Could that now be the time where now they kind of kick on, and this could be the Town that we were expecting to see, not the Town that has taken quite a few tries to get right? We're now going to possibly expect to see this now from the next game onwards?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I hope so. I think the fact is we've got a really good squad of players, haven't we? And I guess, you know, I've said all along that we needed time and the players need time to gel, but obviously you've got to get to a point where you stop saying that, because it's been 10, 15 games in the season. So, you know, there's a question around the fans, I guess, is how long you give them time. But I still think this early on in the season is still a time where the players need to gel. And I think that was what the problem was. We hadn't gelled properly, so players didn't know how other players played, basically, if that makes sense. And that's where the mistakes were coming from. I think the midfield looks quite weak, and which was quite surprising to me, because, you know, our midfield looks really strong on paper. Defensive mistakes were a real problem as well. And I think maybe down to injuries, and hopefully we've now got the starting back four that we need. Obviously, there's a bit of questioning whether who should be playing at right back, which we'll get on to later. But, you know, hopefully Paul Cook's got a formula and a formation and a group of players that now know how each other play, and that can only be good going forward. And I really hope that this is the turning point.
Yeah, I think we all hope it's the turning point because it's sort of the start that nobody expected and nobody wanted to see. But hopefully, this will be the turning point. And on Saturday, one of our own delivered the goods once again with his ball dozering run, which led to a very powerful header from McColson's pinpoint cross. Yes, McKaylee Bond, he has now made it 5 goals in his last 8 appearances or 4 goals in his last 3. Dan, he's absolutely having a flying start. He's on fire. I think nobody sort of expected it really because every time Ipswich Town has had a big man of some sorts, it's never really worked out for them. But a lot of football fans will tell you, you should never fall in love with a lone player. But with Bond being a local boy from Chantry, it's so hard not to fall in love with him, despite him being on loan and we want him to be here. But QPR are looking to maybe bring back in January, which is slightly concerning here.
It is very concerning. It's not good news, really. It's obviously it's difficult not to fall in love with loan players, especially, it gives them a player that supports the club. It gives that extra boost, doesn't it? And I think that's really helped. He's looked brilliant so far, and I hope it carries on. It seems like he can score in any way. The goal against Wimbledon, the first one, the way he brought that down was excellent. Towering header up against the defender, which, well, Lincoln fans say that was a foul, but nah, it was. It wasn't much in it, was there? So towering header. That's off to Coulson as well because that cross was inch perfect. So he can score from anywhere, and he's in fantastic form, and I hope it continues. And I really hope he stays here for the season. I just don't want to see QPR recalling him because I think it's been a problem for a while, hasn't it? I'd say since Murphy, our main striker, we've been struggling. I think Norwood could be that, but he's injured too much. He's always injured, so he's not going to be the player to do that. And then who have we really had before that could do that? Not many players. So I think it's unfortunate that it's a loan because I think he could be a player that could, be our starting striker. I guess Piggott is thinking, I don't know, Joe Piggott maybe could be that. He's probably, I don't know what he's thinking now, really a lone player ahead of him, but Bond's in the form, in great form, and long may it continue.
Yes, may it continue. Hope he stays beyond January and also stays permanent because he is one of our own. He is a local boy, and it's good to see. Well, a local Ipswich Town player, which we've not seen for a long time. A player from Ipswich actually start a lot in the side and succeed very well. But may longer continue. But Paul Cook after the game spoke to the media as always and was very proud of his players after getting that first win to get a clean sheet in a way from home at a place where most people probably think we'll get beaten today. I'm delighted. And also he commented that it has been a very tough few weeks for him with his dad passing away. He didn't want that to all get to him. And he's now pleased for his family, what's been going on. Also, he hasn't been home since his dad passed away. And I think from everybody here at Pitch I Talk, all our thoughts go out to Paul Cook's family. I think we sort of heard about this a few weeks ago, Dan. It wasn't sort of publicised a lot until last week with Town released a statement about Paul Cook's dad passing away. But for him, really, it's been a tough few weeks on and off the pitch. But this win here has possibly come at the perfect time because there's been a lot of people questioning him. He's been questioning himself. We all know that after that Bolton game and that West Ham loss, there have been a few doubts with him going, what's going wrong with this? Why is it not working? But this win has come at the perfect time. But he is a very much a realist, and we can see that he is stressing already. He is stressed that this is not possibly the start of things. This needs to be built on. This now needs to be the starting block of something because this win ain't going to turn anything around overnight. But the Town need to build on this to be a better side. And do you think this win here will now start to see the building blocks to what the Town we could be seeing and possibly to get maybe to kickstart the season now?
Yeah, it needs to be soon, doesn't it? Because you don't want to fall too far away. But yeah, Paul Cook, he's had a tough few weeks, and I think we needed to be patient with him. And there's some things that go above football, isn't there? And this is this is an instance where we should, really think about what booing a manager that's just lost his father is not the way to go. So yeah, I hope all is okay with Paul Cook, and I guess this win has put confidence back in him, and I think it's put the pressure off of him a little bit as well. I was still in favour of him, and I still believe myself that he's the best man for the job. If he's gone, then who is there out there that's better than Paul Cook? I can't really see anyone who's better than Paul Cook at the moment. So I believe that he's the best man for the job. I think time is still needed. So yeah, let's hope that this kickstarts it. I mean, he's just honest, isn't he? I think it's a breath of fresh air in that sense, because we've had so many managers in the past that aren't honest like he is. When it's going wrong, he says it how it is. The past managers just haven't been like that, have they? When it's going wrong, so it's a breath of fresh air to see that. I think he's got the backing of the owners and Mark Ashton as well at this moment in time. Because I don't really want to end up like a Watford or a Nottingham Forest. We're not that type of club. I think we've had 18, 19 managers in our whole history. We don't want to end up like that. So I think we need to give him the support he needs at this moment in time, and give him time, because I really do believe he's the right man for the job. And we don't want to sack a manager halfway through October when there's no one else available. So yeah, I think this win has definitely helped in that sense. Helped the pressure off him a little bit, if there was any. Hopefully some of the fans that were questioning him, hopefully this, I guess it depends on our next few results, whether them questions are going to be continued, which I get that side of the story as well. I'm not saying that that's wrong. But yeah, I think this win helps in so many ways, and I think it helps Paul Cook as well.
Yeah, well, like you said, with the tough running games coming up, the win has come at the perfect time, possibly. But someone who spoke after the game, and who you mentioned a little bit earlier on, Janoy Donatian, he mentioned about the lads are buzzing for their first win of the season, but we want more. We have quality here so much, and we have to put it all together now. He had the game of his life. Man of the match performance from him. Janoy Donatian has come out the blue really here, because quite literally out the blue really, because he was out on loan last season. A lot of people thought he wasn't going to be at the end of the start of next season, but then he was retained in this sort of getting rid of a lot of players. But there's now this question: should he be starting over Kane Vince-Young, who we know is a fantastic right back, but Kane Vince-Young isn't putting these performances in, but Janoy Donatian is. So surely Janoy should be getting the nod ahead of Kane Vincent-Young, should we be saying in the future?
I mean, you'd say that at the moment, wouldn't you? I think it's unfortunate that Kane Vincent-Young hasn't had the start that we all wanted him to have. I don't know what's happened, because when he signed, he was that right back that bombed forward and caused problems every single time he got the ball. He could just run with it. And I thought that would suit Paul Cook to the T. I thought that was, he was a cool Paul Cook type of player, but I don't know. He's just, I don't know whether the injury has kind of affected that, but he kind of steps off of it. When he gets the ball, we all want him to go forward. And I'm like, we know you can run with it. We know you've got the pace to get past players, but he just hasn't been doing that enough. And I guess defensively this season, it hasn't been his strong point, has it? So, yeah, I think Donatian, he put in a fantastic performance against Lincoln, and he's proved me wrong, because we all know in the past I haven't been his biggest fan. But, I'm going to take back on that, because when you really think about it, he hasn't really done much wrong. I think probably the relegation season, he signed for us, and I didn't really like him, but none of our players performed in that season. So I don't think you can judge a player on that. And I take back what I said, because he's looking really good at the moment. And yeah, I think he's got the start now. That performance I think he's going to start against Sheffield Wednesday. I think he's got that place, and I really hope he does well. because he's been on loan, I think, twice now, hasn't he? I think he went back to Accrington. Was he at Fleetwood? Was he?
Fleetwood
Yeah, I
last
think
season,
so. Yeah. So hopefully this is his chance now. And let's see how it goes with him, because if he keeps performing like that, I'm not going to complain that he's in the starting 11.
He must be doing well if you're in your own words, mate. he must be doing well.
Exactly.
Well then, Town are back at home on Saturday. Looking now to build on this first win of the season and get their first win now at Portman Road. That has not happened since Fleetwood at the end of last season in May. They haven't had a win, but they're looking for their first one this year. But after winning against Lincoln last Saturday. But who are the visitors? It is Sheffield Wednesday, who were relegated from the Championship last season and who made a brilliant start to the season. 3 wins in their first 4 games, seeing them top of the table. But then 1 point from the last 3 games, including losses to Morecambe, and Plymouth has seen them slip down the table to 13th. It looks like being top of the table is an absolute curse. Well, Wickham are currently top of the table, so maybe they might be slipping down very shortly soon. But we'll have to wait and see on that. But back to where we are, Dan. Town, they've ended their poor run now, but they're looking to build on it. They're looking to build on it and get their first one at Portman Road. Or will we see a Sheffield Wednesday side who we know is strong? They've got a very good manager, Darren Moore. We know what he can do if he can get it right. Sheffield Wednesday, they've got a good side. They were top at 1 point. Will they right those wrongs of those last 3 games and make it 3 points at Portman Road?
Yeah, I think this is probably the toughest game we've had so far. No disrespect to other clubs, but it's going to be a really tough one. No matter how they've started, you look at their squad and you think they've got some really, really good players. I only found out on Saturday that they got Saido Berahino, so that's mad. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one. There's going to be a big crowd, so hopefully that will help our players, and hopefully the win against Lincoln has really got helped our squad as well. So it's hard. I think it's a really hard game to predict, this one, because we all know that Sheffield Wednesday have had a poor run in the last few games, but just the quality of their players worries me. But we've got them quality players as well, so yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how they kind of play, and I think it'll be a tight one, and I think it'll be a draw, and I think that probably won't please our fans as much as it should, but hopefully, I think a draw. And I think it will be a fair result as a draw as well. And I'm going to say a 1-1. And hopefully, I think if this is a draw and we win on Tuesday, I don't think there'll be much complaining.
Oh, all right. And a draw. Dan has gone for a draw for Ipswich Town versus Sheffield Wednesday. A 1-1. What do you think? Let us know on Twitter what you think the score position will be between Ipswich Town and Sheffield Wednesday. And that is it for Ipswich Town this week. We've talked everything about Town. We're towned out at the moment. We'll all that sort of stuff. But there'll be more to talk about because we do have 2 very big games happening. Yes, one on Saturday against Sheffield Wednesday, but they're playing again on Tuesday back at Portman Road. 2 home games in a row against Doncaster Rovers, who might be bottom of the table, but it still is a big game because, it's Doncaster Rovers. They did all right last season. I think they beat Town 4-1 at one point, didn't they, at the beginning? Am I correct?
I can't remember.
Possibly.
That's how bad my memory is. Last season was just a blur.
All right then. Well, they did then.
Yeah. Oh yes, they definitely did. I remember now. Yeah, you're right.
It shows we do our research.
It was a night game
sometimes. Yeah. Oh, it was a night game. Yeah, I remember that now because I paid £10 for that. Absolute rubbish that was. But when we come back, we'll be talking about the Premier League game week number 5. We've had another week of more dramatic football action in the Premier League. We've got 3 teams now running away at the moment at the top, all on 13 points. We've had the first of a net carbon 0 game between 2 heavyweights in the Premier League, and we had some late drama at the London Stadium. So when we come back, we're talking about that.
The best place in Ipswich to hear the latest football debates, Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on iRadios Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan, as always. Now, before we move on talking about the Premier League this week, I better mention the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube, Mixcolour, both at Pitchside Talk. And if you missed anything from today's show, do not worry. At 6 p.m. on the YouTube and Mixcloud, they will be up. If you just listen back to whatever you missed today, if you missed anything from listening live on IO Radio at 5 p.m., do not worry. We'll be up at 6 o'clock, where you can listen back to us talk about Ipswich Town and that first win of the season against Lincoln. Spoiler alert. Well, you should have seen it as spoiler alert on Saturday, realistically. But, Town won a game of football. Yay, finally. And now on to the Premier League. Yay, he finally got the memo there. Yay. But another week has passed and more dramatic football action has happened in the Premier League, which has seen the first ever net zero carbon game between two heavyweights in the Premier League. Late drama at the London Stadium. And also we have 3 teams that are all joint on the same amount of points at the top of the table. Ooh, very interesting. But first, let's look at the results from game week number 5. So we had a 1-1 draw between Newcastle and Leeds to kick it off on Friday night. Brentford, they won 2-0 against Wolves. And then Arsenal won 1-0 against Burnley. Liverpool won 3-0 against Crystal Palace. Man City draw 0-0 with Southampton. Oh my God. And then Watford won 3-1 against Norwich. Aston Villa, they won 3-0 against Everton. And then to kick off Sunday, Brighton won 2-1 against Leicester. Manchester United won 2-1 against West Ham in a very dramatic style at the end. And then Chelsea dominated at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium with a 3-0 win. And that's where we're going to kick it off, between two bitter rivals and heavyweights clashing in the first ever net zero carbon game, as Chelsea extended the unbeaten run in the Premier League to 5. Dan, it was a tale of two halves, really, for both sides. Spurs having that fast start stunned Chelsea. Chelsea did not do themselves. They were quite shocked not to be going 1-0 down. But then Chelsea made a very key change. N'Golo Kante came on, and that changed everything in the game for Chelsea in their favour. But the Spurs really outclassed by Chelsea. But they've had 2 very difficult performances coming to this. They drawed in the Europa Conference. They lost in the game against Crystal Palace last time out. And then also they had the passing of Jimmy Greaves as well. But Chelsea, they showed why they are possibly the biggest favourites for this title in this game, didn't they?
Yeah, I think that's a huge statement of intent for them, isn't it? I think obviously the signing of Lukaku was one, and they've had a very good start as well. Really good performance and deserved really, won it. I mean, Tottenham, they, as you said, they had a fast start, but overall they were really outclassed in the end. And that's really disappointing on Tottenham's end, because the first 3 games they looked pretty good, didn't they? But I guess with Tottenham, I don't think we were expecting that to last, really. I don't think a lot of people were. And I think there's a lot of unknowns with Tottenham, obviously, with Nuno coming in. Obviously, not their first choice manager, I don't think. They had it was a long time, wasn't it, before they appointed someone.
Yeah.
And I think Nuno's last season at Wolves wasn't amazing, was it? So I think that was an interesting choice, and I hope everything goes well, really, there with him, because I think he's a good manager. But the last 2 games, last 3 games, really, if you're including the conference, have been quite concerning, haven't they? Obviously, the Palace game was a huge surprise. I guess the red card, I guess that made the difference in that game. And then coming up against Chelsea, obviously it's going to be a tough game, because they're title contenders really this season, aren't they? But to put in that type of performance, it's disappointing. And I guess having a striker that doesn't really want to be there either doesn't help. So it's been a tough few games. But they've got Arsenal next, so let's see if that changes.
Yeah, North London derby. Yeah,
North London derby. That would be a good one. But for Chelsea, yeah, I think this is a big statement intent for them, and it really showed, they're title contenders this season. They're looking really strong, aren't they? There's not a lot of teams that can stop them this year, and so far this season looks like it's going to be really tight, which is good to see. Let's see how Chelsea can do.
Yeah, we'll get on to that how tight the Premier League is currently at the moment. But we better have some big drama that happened on the other side of London at the West Ham, as club captain Mark Noble stepped off the bench to have his penalty saved in the dying minutes of the game, as they missed out on a point after Jesse Lingard reminded fans, like I said earlier, Dan, why don't fall in love with a lone player, because he scored. The West Ham fans clapped him on. There was people with Lingard on the back of their shirts, and he scored a winner. Oh, how disappointed. But for David Moyes, he brought on what he said one of the best penalty takers in Europe, and unfortunately that decision backfired. It did not get the win. But for Manchester United, they preserved the unbeaten run so far on the road, thanks to David De Gea.
Yeah, I mean, we all know what a fantastic goalkeeper he is, and he saved them in this game. It's just sometimes how football works, isn't it? Unfortunately for West Ham, you'd put money on Mark Noble scoring that, wouldn't you? I mean, coming on, and somehow that's just how it happens. But yeah, hats off to David De Gea for saving that, and I think West Ham will come away for that quite disappointed. But obviously, it's a brilliant start for Manchester United. I said at the start of the season that, actually, I think in the summer I said that they'd be really good this season, and that was before they signed Ronaldo. So let's see how their season goes. Lingard as well. I bet West Ham fans are looking back at this game. It's just the worst game for them, really, isn't it? A player that was so good for them last season, and we didn't think he was going to come back into the Man United squad, really, or even have a look in. And he's had a really good start this season as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. If he continues to performing like this, he's going to be in that United squad for most of the season, isn't he? So yeah, good start for Man United, and let's see how it goes, because as I said before, it's going to be tight this year. Let's see if they can do it in them big games, because that's been their problem for a while, just bottling it in the crucial moments, really. But yeah, I guess their fans can be optimistic with how this season started.
Yes, and that is where we're now going to move on to how tight it is up the top. He said about Manchester United and crucial moments. Well, they've got two teams ahead of them on the same amount of points, but different goal difference. Manchester United are in third with 13 points, 9 goals, and Liverpool and Chelsea are joint top with 11 goals, 13 points. Chelsea are top because of alphabetical order, which is quite annoying to say as a little bit of a Liverpool fan. I wish we were top. But Dan, it's looking like we've got the runaway people already. Man City have slipped a little bit out the race, even though they are 3 points behind, but they did have a drop of points to Southampton on the weekend. But realistically here, are we now seeing in sort of every point now is going to be a prisoner, and whoever slips points, even if it's just one, it's going to be massive at the end of the season, how tight it is so far.
Yeah, it looks like it. And we all hope it is like that, isn't it? Because we've had so many seasons where there's a runaway and just one team that runs away with it throughout the whole season. And sometimes we don't want that. Sometimes you want a closer fight. And so far this season, that's what we've been seeing. So hopefully that carries on. Yeah, it looks like we got three runaways there, but I don't think we can count out Man City just yet. It's still early on. I mean, Brighton are in there as well.
Brighton are run away with
Who knows?
Oh
Who knows? But no, they've had a great start, but I think they won't be in there for much longer, in my opinion. But sorry, Brighton fans. But yeah, I think it's going to be really close this year, and I'm really excited to see how it goes, because we all love a tight league table. I mean, all four of them clubs, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, Man City, you'd think that they could go all the way, all of them, I think.
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to go on.
I'm just going to throw something go from a hat into the ring here. Imagine if Brighton didn't lose to Everton. They'd be top of the league right now.
They would be. Can you imagine that? Yeah, that's mad to think about. But yeah, will it last? Don't think so. But no, you never know. It's football, isn't it? You never know what will happen. So for Brighton's sake, let's hope they stay there.
You know what it is? You know why they're in this race? Because that Graham Potter beard. That
Oh yes,
that
of course it is.
that beard is the whole reason why they're there. He needs to do that more often. Don't shave it, Graham
Yeah,
Potter.
he
Keep
does.
it.
No,
You might finish.
he'll
You might
stay
finish
there then.
first. But yeah, that is everything for the Premier League this week. That is all your Premier League action roundup. We have we'll have some more next week. We've got game week 6 where we're going to see Chelsea versus Man City and a North London derby, as Dan teased earlier on. Also, I think Liverpool away to Brentford. And I can't think what other games are happening. Manchester United against Aston Villa, Everton versus Norwich, Leeds versus West Ham, Leicester versus Burnley, Watford versus Newcastle. And then we've got Southampton versus Wolves. And then Monday Night Football, we've got a big derby. It is actually a derby. Don't tell me lies, Crystal Palace fans or Brighton fans. It is a derby, technically. It's the A43. It's Palace versus Brighton. It is a derby. It is actually a derby. I kid you not. It is.
Okay.
It is.
You don't want to get. Do you want to get people talking about that on Twitter this year?
No, but it is a derby. If Google says it's a derby, if Premier League says it's a derby, it's a derby. What's the whole point in you having a rivalry with a side? It's a derby. Gosh, just some people. But yeah, when we come back, it is time for the Carabao Cup, something that Ipswich Town are not in, but it's the third roundup, and we'll do that right after this.
Pitchside Talk, footy debate from the Premier League Outback.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on iRadio's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, Dan, as always. Now, before we move on talking about the Carabao Cup third round this week, I better mention the social media. It's not what I'm about to say there. Better mention the social media. We're going to get it right this time. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube and Mixcolour both at Pitchside Talk. And if you missed anything from this show, do not worry. 6 p.m. on YouTube and Mixcloud. This show will be live once it's out on iRadio. It will be live on there as well for you to listen back to what we've been talking about the Premier League this week, and also Ipswich Town as well. So they got the first win of the season on Saturday against Lincoln. Do not worry, that'll be up for you 6 p.m. on Fridays. Now it's time for the Carabao Cup to take centre stage under the floodlights as the big hitters, the big heavyweights, entered the competition for the first time of this season, which has seen a few traditional cup upsets, which has seen two big teams lead the competition. So what have we got? So we've got QPR versus Everton. Who would have thought that had been an entertaining game? But it was a 2-2 draw as QPR upset Premier League Everton on penalties, 8-7, reaching the last 16 thanks to Charlie Austin's two crucial goals. But Everton did peg them back a little bit. They did get two backing out. And I'm just trying to load up the other results because I've actually forgotten the other results down. It's really bad. Oh yeah, Liverpool won 3-0 against Norwich. I can tell you that much.
I'll take that.
I knew you would. That's so I thought just get that one out of the way because I know you're not biased or anything at all. Where is it? Oh yeah, Brentford, they won 7-0 against Oldham. Burnley won 4-1 against Rochdale. Leeds had to win on penalties against Fulham, 6-5 on penalties after a 0-0 draw. Preston won 4-1 against Cheltenham Town. Sheffield United draw 2-2 with Southampton, but Southampton won on penalties 4-2. Stoke City knocked out Watford 3-1, and also Sunderland knocked out Wigan as well 2-0. And the other results, Manchester United, they dropped out of the competition as West Ham regained their revenge after Sunday's defeat in the Premier League. And also David Moyes' first win at Old Trafford since leaving back in 2014. What a moment for him, showing those Old Trafford faithfuls that he's still got it, maybe a few years later. And then we had other results. We had Brighton, they knocked out Swansea City 2-0. Arsenal won 3-0 against FC Wimbledon. Chelsea had to go to penalties 4-3 on penalties after drawing 1-1 with Villa in normal time. Leicester won 2-0 against Millwall. And Tottenham were took into penalties. They won 3-2 against Wolves on a 2-2, which saw many penalties missed, but they got through in the end. And that is all really for the Carabao Cup this weekend. Actually, before we do that, I mentioned actually the draw for the fourth round. We did have the draw as well. I was seeing Chelsea versus Southampton, Arsenal versus Leeds, Stoke versus Brentford, West Ham versus Manchester City, Leicester versus Brighton, Burnley versus Tottenham, QPR versus Sunderland, and Preston versus Liverpool. And there's everything for the Carabao Cup. Damn, we got there in the end. I'm going to just take a little breather here. That was actually quite a good third round for the Carabao Cup. I think we have to sort of say in an overall summary.
It was, yeah. Some good games in there, some upsets, and I think that's what we want in the cup, isn't it? We don't want to see results that we all thought would happen. So yeah, decent round. Let's hope for more in the next one.
Yes, let's hope for more in the next one. And now we're going to be moving on to a football roundup this week. Hooray! We love a good old football roundup. And Dan, would you like to start off this week?
Yeah, I'll start off this week.
You can tell it's not planned at all.
We don't plan it at all. Right. Right, the first story.
Yes, you go for the first story.
is about is about Derby County. I think we've all heard all about Derby, haven't we? Sad to see, but they've gone into administration. I think something that's been on the cards for a while. We've been hearing about all the money trouble that Derby have gone through, and unfortunately have got a 12-point deduction in the Championship this season, which puts them, I think they were 12th, weren't they? And they've gone all the way down to the bottom of the league with minus 1 point. So yeah, it's sad to see a club like Derby, in this mess. I guess it is quite worrying because it's happening to a lot of clubs, isn't it? It keeps happening every single season. We keep saying this, so hopefully everything can be sorted out with Derby. But I think the pandemic has hit them really hard, and they just can't find a buyer, can they? It's just impossible I think Mel Morris is their owner, isn't he? I think that's his name. Just cannot find a buyer. So yeah, let's hope it's all sorted out, because it's sad to see.
Yeah, let's hope it's all sorted out. I think they lost 20 million over the pandemic, and I think they were losing money a lot already. We've known about the potential buyers we had. I think they had the potential buyers back in March. That didn't go through, and then May, that hasn't gone through. But it's a very worrying time for Derby County, but we do hope that they do get themselves sorted out very shortly. And it is a bit of a concern. It's happened to a lot of clubs. We've seen it happen to Bury. They got expelled from it. It happened to Wigan. Happened to Sheffield Wednesday. QPR got fined 45 million for doing it as well. It's a little bit of concern at the moment. Hopefully, and also Bolton as well. We must remember Bolton nearly happened to them. So hopefully this will get sorted out very shortly. And we don't want to see anything bad happen in Derby County, because they've had a good start to the season, and we all know Derby County can do well. Wayne Rooney is an up-and-coming manager in the future, so we want to see somebody do quite well at Derby County. And it's not nice for everybody working at Derby County, just behind the scenes, really, the club going to administration, because that puts jobs at risk, which is not nice at all. Well, my bit of news this week is that the Premier League could have a 7-week mid-season break from the 2022/2023 season to accommodate the World Cup. There's a meeting on Wednesday happening where they're going to be proposing that from the 12th of November to Boxing Day, there will be a break between the fixtures, but then there'll be a little bit of a difference for the summer break as well. So they're trying to look to see how they accommodate the World Cup, because that is happening in the winter, not the summer, the winter, because it's in Qatar, because apparently temperatures can get above 50 degrees in the summer months. It has to be staged in the winter, which is a little bit concerning. But yeah, that's everything for Football Roundup this week. And Dan, that's everything for the show. We've got nothing else. We're all football out. What are we going to do?
We got a week until, there's probably going to be a lot happening the next week. So
there'll be plenty of happening. We have to be patient. But yeah, that is everything for Pitch I Talk this week. I want to thank Dan, as always, for being on the show. I guess I'll see you next week, Dan, as always. I don't know what
that's the plan.
About. Yeah, we'll make up the plans. We always go along. That's what always happens. That's what the joy of the show is. We make up a plan and we just go along. But there might be a few hiccups here and there, but it just adds to all the fun of it. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube, it's got both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our pre-shows or even this one, if you missed anything from today's show, do not worry. In a few minutes' time, 6 p.m. on Fridays on the YouTube Mix Club, it will be up there for you to listen back whenever you would like to. Listen back to when it actually comes out at 6. Why not? You can listen back to us talking about Ipswich Town, Premier League, and the Carabao Cup, as always. So, he's been Dan. I've been George this week. We'll see you next week, and ciao.
Ciao.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.